we're going to do the last dimension, and then you'll go back to your working group, and then you can discuss the last two dimensions, okay? The fourth preference is how we organize our lives. So you have people that are very structured and people who are very flexible. Again, it's not because you're structured that you're not flexible, or because you're flexible that you're not structured, but what comes first, okay? So if I say you're going to an amusement park this weekend, are you going to take a map and you're going to say, okay, at 8 o'clock we're going to see the lions, at 9 o'clock we're going to see this, at 10 o'clock we're going to see that, at 11 we're going to stop for coffee, and 12 we're going to have lunch. You know, you make a plan and you follow the plan, and if you don't follow the plan, then you become anxious. Or do you say, we'll see, we'll walk around, and we'll... So it has a lot to do with how you prepare your vacation, how you prepare your weekend, how you prepare your work, in a structured manner or in a flexible manner. Again, there's advantages and disadvantages to each side. So, are you more structured, or are you more spontaneous, flexible, optimistic? So if you have a starting point and a deadline, the structured people are very methodical. They proceed step by step. One day at a time, we do this, and then we do that, and then we do that, okay? While the others, they tend to kind of, it depends. They have high peaks of performance, and then they don't do anything, and then they work at the last minute. Of course, there's a lot of judgment between this group and that group. And because this group says, I cannot rely on them, they won't deliver on time, their work is not going to be well done, etc., etc. Which is not necessarily the case. It's not because you work like this that your work is not good. It just means the process of getting there is not the same. So are you more of a linear kind of person? You go from point A to point Z, almost in a straight line, while the others constantly go back. So if you write a book, the flexible people often they write the cover first, the title, and then they write the conclusion, and then they write chapter 5, and then they write chapter 1, and then chapter 4, and then chapter 2. They don't proceed in a methodical manner. So the structured people, they tend to like real, how do you say that? Real life paintings, while the other like abstract art, okay? They like structures and graphs and maps and plans, while the others don't want that. I once was coaching somebody who was a 35-year-old man, and he came to my office and he said, I have cancer. And this is the graph of my recovery. In other words, he had made a plan on how he was going to have surgery, he was going to take this medication, and his results were going to get better, and this and this and this and that. And he had made a whole graph, and it would take him 2 years to get rid of his cancer. And at the time, I'm more of a flexible kind of person. I felt like, how can he do that? It doesn't make any sense. But actually, I thought it really helped him to have a plan. And even though it helped him have some control over his environment in a time of crisis, where he really felt that, this is my panic zone, I'm outside of my comfort zone, and I need to do something that's going to help me maintain my sanity. So again, not good or bad, whatever works for you. The structured people tend to be focused on achieving the result. They need to complete, while the others, they enjoy the ride a little bit more, So they tend to have more fun at work. The notion of preparing your vacation, often people like to prepare vacations, or they like to prepare their wedding, or they like to prepare events, while the others, they like last minute, can you come to China tomorrow? And people would say yes. Kadir?
I'm checking the condition.
Oh. It's warm, Kadir, it's warm. The structured people, they like things to be predictable, to be in order, while the others, they like to float, In other words, the other ones, they wait for the wind to take them in one direction or the other. The structured people tend to be very stressed out by deadlines. So if there's only 5 minutes left, they become very anxious. So it's a source of stress. While the others, they like to work at the last minute because they like the adrenaline, the pressure, and they often work quite better under pressure. Do you stick to the plan? You go from point A to point B in one straight line. The others, they tend to get lost and to walk around, and I meet this friend and that friend, and it takes a long time to go home. Of course, if you become overly structured, then you become a little bit of a dictator, because you want things to be done exactly your way, and you become inflexible and overly controlling, and the opposite is true for the other type. So the potential conflict is we start challenging each other's definition of professionalism, and we say these people are not professional. Long planning versus last minute intervention. We talked about this. How much direction do managers give to their staff? Some managers want things to be done exactly a certain way and no other way. Now, it's important, if you're a flexible person, it's important that your style panics the other group, okay? That the other people often get very, very anxious when they see you because they don't trust that you will deliver on time. They don't trust that your work will be of quality. And it is not true that you cannot deliver. It's just that you need to set up milestones. In other words, you need to say, listen, don't control everything I do, but every Friday I will let you know, I will give you a little report about where I am. So it's a way to appease the anxiety of the other group. And of course, both groups often don't trust each other. So, if you become too structured, you become rigid, you become controlling, dictatorial, you often miss opportunities, because if you have a plan to see the lions at 10 o'clock and there's something more interesting happening next door, you will go to see the lions even though there's something more, so you can actually miss opportunities simply because you want to stick to the plan. You can become potentially anxious and try to predict everything. You want to be able to control everything. Unfortunately, there are many things in life that are unpredictable. The weather, for example, And of course, if you become too flexible, then you are distracted, you postpone. Procrastination is to put it back, I'll do it tomorrow. You tend to change for the sake of change. In other words, you don't use the resources available to you, and it's much easier to rebuild things than to use what's available. And they tend to be unrealistic about the future. So they say, yeah, strategic management, of course it's going to work, no problem. We'll see how it goes, we'll trust the future, And then, of course, the potential is you become very... Okay, so if you become too structured, you start planning your spontaneity session, Let's be happy for 3 minutes. Let's be spontaneous for 5, And if you are too flexible, so when structured people go on vacation with flexible people, it's often a nightmare, okay? Because you don't have the same definition of a vacation at all.